UFC this Friday and Saturday knocking out Smashes, which I just found out is the Australian title for the Ultimate Fighter, and also the FX Friday night unbelievably pretty boring finale for the Ultimate Fighter. That means it's time for Verbal Tap. I'm here with Raf Esparza. Raf, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you for asking. Holy shit. So we've got to catch you guys up. We're catching the tail end of the weigh-ins right now for the Smashes weigh-ins. Since there's two sets of fights that are happening this weekend, right?
Yes, there are two sets. We were able to just verify that.
Excellent.
I actually, until this moment, Raf just told me this was Australia's version of the Ultimate Fighter. I thought it was just a weird fight card.
I think it's hysterical that they refer to it as the Smashes.
I agree. I don't know if that's like some sort of, do they always do that? Or do they, there are some weird flag underwear at this weigh-in too. An excessive amount of weird country.
We will fill you in. There have been some odd underwear choices. There have been some odd tattoo choices. And even some odd kind of snippets that pop up. Karen Bryant and Chael Sonnen have just popped up to tell us interesting facts about the fighters to like try and make us more aware of them here in America.
Yeah. Chael keeps popping up and talking about everybody like it's John Jones. This next person is the best person you've never heard of. It's like, we get it, Chael. We get it. They said pep it up. We tone it down a notch. No one knows who the F is on this fight card, which we're going to talk about the next few days worth of fights. We're going to talk about some of like the more important fights and try and prove continuously our motto, fighting is in fact easier from outside the cage. You ready to talk fights and fight news?
Always.
Soteropoulos versus Pearson. And Pearson's nickname is The Real Deal, which is a real deal nickname. That's a very serious nickname. You can't be half-hearted if your nickname is The Real Deal.
I guess you could. It makes it sound like it's an advertisement for KFC, though.
They have a deal box, don't they?
I think they
like
do.
The real. Yeah, I think he could just cut it out and just make it The Deal.
Yeah.
The Real Deal is too long to be a nickname, first of all.
I like The Deal as a nickname.
Yeah, I like just The Deal, because that's kind of ambiguous. You don't really know exactly what that means. Soteropoulos does not have a nickname.
No.
But if you've seen him one time, I have an idea for one. Look at his UFC fight card picture. I think his nickname should be Sternum.
Bold
George
choice.
Sternum Soteropoulos.
How long did it take you to come up with that?
Seconds. I saw his sternum and got terrified. I remember watching when he was on The Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
It was actually a really fun season. That was when Matt Serra and Matt Hughes hosted.
That is right.
That was a really good, fun season because Hughes had been disrespecting Serra's belt, and Serra is just, he's loud. He's got to talk about what he's going to talk about.
Is that the season when Matt Hughes also went up and was giving people Bibles?
That sounds right. I mean, that sounds like something you would do. God, I'm seeing the weigh-in highlights right now come across the screen, which I'm assuming they're about to do Soteropoulos.
Yes.
And he has just got one mean sternum.
Yeah.
There's probably a move where he could just cover someone's face with a sternum, boom, nickname sticks, and now it also doesn't sound so obtuse.
Well, you know how, like, everybody specializes in one or two things? Wouldn't it be great if he did nothing but seminars on sternum control?
That would be great. That would really help the nickname
trademark.
Push, I feel like. Hey, jiu-jitsu and ground game's a lot about chest. So's all that stuff. So
can we get straight to addressing the biggest problem with the Smashes fights?
Yes. What is it? What's the biggest problem in your
Who
your
are
eyes?
these people?
No shit, right? Who? I've never heard. I didn't know who Pearson was. I feel like that's somebody I should have probably. At least I knew who Soteropoulos was.
I had to take a break for a minute. Did your voice just crack right there?
A little bit.
That's awesome.
I'm halfway through a martini. Maybe by the time I'm all the way through, I'll stop. Oh, we get it. You guys are all from Australia. Stop draping yourselves in the flag. For people that can't see it, watch the weigh-ins. Just fast forward it. You're going to see more Australian flag than you know what to do with.
And they're done. Okay. Yeah, it's just really weird. Like, even in watching all of this the stuff that they've got on here, I have no clear idea who any of these people are, which makes it very hard to become attached to any part of the fight going into it. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, if ever our nickname strategy were more important, this is the one. But even most of these guys don't have nicknames.
No.
Because no one's heard of them. Which I think, anything you have to say about this fight, Soteropoulos versus Pearson?
Not at the moment. I'm like you. I was a fan of Soteropoulos on The Ultimate Fighter. I thought he was fine on there. I think the biggest problem for me is I think this illuminates what is both great and frustrating about the UFC right now, is that we do have a saturation in terms of fans getting so many events that it is hard to keep up with them. On the other hand, I do appreciate that for the fighters, this is a great set of opportunities for them to kind of make names for themselves.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as just sort of meta about the sport. Right now, MMA coverage and MMA things have not quite caught up to the demand. So it seems like there's just so much demand, and the supply is kind of skewed and a little bit all over the place. Because I was looking at ESPN's mixed martial arts website and web coverage, which is actually getting better.
Yeah.
And their website is already easier to use and easier to interface with. And maybe just because I'm used to it, but it feels like the UFC really needs to stop and strategize if they're going to keep growing like this. Because I agree with you. They just seem ripe for some sort of competition to really come screaming at them if it's done efficiently and effectively. Because they're just all over the place right now.
And honestly, I don't really think the blame's on the fighters. The fighters are paid to get out there, put on great fights, or, you know, maybe if you extrapolate it to maybe promoting themselves, maybe that's where they're at fault. But I really think there's a disconnect in the way the UFC is promoting these things just because it doesn't feel unique into itself.
Sure. I agree. And continuing in this, let's move past the Soteropoulos-Pearson fight into the next one, the Ultimate Fighter. Those of you that have been watching here in the United States, our version, Roy Big Country Nelson was scheduled to face Shane Carwin. I was really looking forward to that fight because the show made me like Carwin a lot more. Yeah. And in a lot of ways, I like Roy Nelson, but he should never be allowed ever in his life to coach young fighters. He's really bad at it. He's just the worst. His team, for the first time in any season I've ever watched, they had like multiple coaches meetings where they were trying to explain that they were like, there are things we want to change and we don't like the focus. And Big Country's response was always just like, that's on you. You got to figure it out. And it was always like, okay, nice job. And he's so huge, no one wants to argue with him. No. These are a bunch of 170ers. They're not stupid.
I will say.
So we have.
We should be very forthcoming with our audience on this. I watched maybe about 3 episodes of The Ultimate Fighter, and then I just stopped.
It's pretty boring. And I watched the whole season, and I did it through DVR. Well, you and I, we'll get to this later, but they're switching the night also. They're taking it from Fridays to Tuesdays. Game changer. Yeah. That's a game changer. No one's ever watching live on Fridays. And this is one of those shows on DVR, at least with my connection, where I can't fast forward or move through things. Yeah. So I have to watch all the BS van rides, all the BS setup, all the stupid arguments these 22-year-olds are having as they get drunk in their Vegas house and complain about how they miss their families, even though they're only gone for 6 weeks. 6 weeks. It's like, that's not even a semester, guys. I think you can stomach it for 6 weeks to get a chance to propel your lives. I always get super pissed when they're like, I just miss my family. I just don't know. It's like, how many of you were living with your family and seeing them night in and night out when you took this month-and-a-half long break? It's like, that's a great vacation.
It's almost like, did this never come up in a discussion?
That they would be gone?
For 6 weeks.
They would be out without their families? Yeah. We don't have phones. Like, we don't have... It's 6 weeks. You never see in Survivor... Normally it's about the game and like scheming. It's never like, it's been 26 days since I've seen my family.
But can we also really get into that idea of The Ultimate Fighter? I think my biggest problem with it is it's reached, and you can argue this a couple seasons ago, but it reached its plateau where it's hitting the exact same notes in every episode. And I think most people are here to see the fights. And I thought it was interesting to try and do the live fights on a Friday night. But again, it's a Friday night.
No one cares.
Nobody's going to be there for a Friday night.
Because the fights aren't good. The fights aren't. Most of them are not good. And I actually, the part that always pisses me off is I love seeing the training. Mm-hmm. I love it when they show like them on the mats and the drills they're working and the different things. I think they'd have a ton more success if they actually stopped. Dana, we know you're listening. We just want to say thank you again. You can stop tweeting. You're the one person that can stop giving us all the feedback about how much you love the show. We get it. Thank you, Mr. White. So if he would just make it about instruction, like show us why they're doing that drill. Don't just show us Forrest Griffin acting like a jackass and a professional for 2 minutes on and 2 minutes off. Show us why Carwin or Nelson brought him in, and just give us a little bit more strategy, because that's what I feel like. If you watch The Ultimate Fighter, chances are you aren't looking for the drama of a reality TV show. You want to see fighting, and you want to see things that go with it.
And isn't that the most frustrating part of it, is that when you can't tell the difference between watching The Ultimate Fighter and the real world, isn't it scary?
Oh God, yeah, it is. And the way they get drunk and just get into immature arguments in the house is very real world.
Like
it's very real world.
It's without fail. They always get drunk, and then somebody always tries for an armbar on fucking cement. Like, it's the most terrifying thing in the world to me when somebody's like, in that fight situation, you get the jiu-jitsu guy who's going for an armbar for the person who's just going to drop them on their head on cement.
And for those that haven't fought on cement, I have. Cement always wins. Like, cement never loses.
How many times have you fought on cement?
2.
Why did you do that?
Alcohol-related incidents, of course. Incidents. Once, you'll like this, I was actually a GTA at the time. I was in grad school, and we were coming back from, like, our big Christmas party when we were coming back for the big tournament. It's like, think about it like the week before fight prep to make a speech metaphor for fighting, which almost doesn't exist. And I had some students getting a little lippy about my ground game. They were like, oh, whatever, this is like karate for adults. And I was just into combatives at the time, so I knew enough to take care of the speech and theater kids challenging me in my graduate assistantship. So we got into it pretty drunk right there on the concrete grass half and half yard we have out here in D.C. I did submit all 3 opponents. That's worth noting. But I left, I'd say, about half a quart of blood on the thing when I split my elbow pretty much wide open.
So who do you blame for this?
My students, myself,
okay.
And wine, because there's part of me that's like, hey, maybe they deserved it, but then the other part's like, nice responsible coaching while choking your students out on concrete in the middle of winter.
So what's the takeaway to people who are listening to this as mixed martial arts fans?
That if I had a dream, it would be that no one ever fights on concrete.
That's it. Don't fight on concrete, kids. If you're listening to this and you have a dream,
don't do it.
Don't do it.
Well, no, I'm saying like my dream. I went and saw the MLK Memorial last night, so I'm into proclaiming things I have a dream about. And my one tonight is that people don't fight on concrete. Though that would make our next fight more interesting. Colton Smith versus Mike Ricci. You haven't watched the show at all? Colton Smith is he got people off to a bad start because he went to do the bump fists at the beginning, you know?
Yep, I remember that guy.
Yes, and he shot in. Well, he's gotten better since. He's an Army Ranger.
Yeah.
And never stops talking about fighting for the troops, which is great. It's just all he ever talks about, so we don't even get to know him. We just know he thinks fighting is easy. His job's easy, you know. In Afghanistan, it's hard. He just always is screaming that at the top of his lungs.
I do remember that moment when, like, all the coaches, including Dana, when he did do that fake out, just shake their head.
Yeah.
And I actually found it really funny. Agreed. I thought he was douchebaggy for that, but I found myself at home being like, how dare you disrespect this sport?
Yeah, I was pissed. I really was, because it was like, are you kidding? Just don't do it then. right? Don't deliberately engage in it, and then use the really honorable fist bump as like the touch gloves. I thought it was
Exactly.
Really douchey.
If you're in shape and are a fighter, that is not allowed. If you
and he's
are
clearly talented,
yeah, exactly,
it
and
just sucks.
But if you are me, completely open, completely allowed, because I have no dignity when I go to roll. I'll cheat.
See,
I have no problem with that.
Now, that said, is it safe to say that you and Colton Smith have slightly different talent and skill set levels to where you might use that advantage and it doesn't... You're not about to Anderson Silva someone versus Colton who uses it. And he's obviously a professional fighter. So you're saying it's about like your ability?
Exactly.
You're feeling unconfident as a man and as a fighter?
Well, okay.
No, that sounds like a yes. No, we get it, Raf.
Hold on,
and
here's
maybe
the
we
thing.
can turn the next
All
15
I'm saying
minutes
is,
into just pepping you up.
If you're me, it's very helpful because it puts us maybe on a little bit more even ground. All I'm saying.
No, I'm with you. It's kind of like how, you always think about like sliding a few extra pennies in your glove. When you and I eventually have our 2z2 fight with Nate and Nick Diaz.
Of course.
Who have just been asking for it, frankly.
Which, by the way, who are you taking in this fight?
I think I choose Nick, actually.
So you take Nick and I get Nate?
He is bigger. Yeah, Nick is bigger.
Okay.
Nick's the bigger of the two. I'm the bigger of us two.
Here's the thing, and I want to put this out to our listeners. How would we beat them in that situation? I'm putting this on them.
Help.
Give us advice and let us know how we win.
We're going to need ideas
Clearly.
to take down the Diaz brothers. But I like our chances. I feel like we're only like minus 135 in the Vegas line. So Colton Smith is a pounder. Mike Ricci is still trying to figure out. His nickname is the Martian. How do you feel about the Martian as a nickname?
I think it's an awful nickname, unless his first name is Marvin.
It's not.
Then boo.
And I agree with you. The only redeeming... I hadn't thought about that. I just hated the nickname. He's a weird kind of guy. He's very soft-spoken. They called him the accountant on The Ultimate Fighter just because he didn't look like a fighter. Next fight, I think this one's going to be interesting. Melvin, young assassin Gilliard versus Jamie Varner, who doesn't have a nickname and needs one. Not much to say about the fight. I'm just excited about the matchup.
Agreed. I'll say this. I had the chance to speak with Melvin a few months ago. Yeah. Did an article for Studio MMA.
Plugsies.
And very nice. Very, very refocused, I think, in his life. I mean, you can say that, although he found himself on the receiving end of a knockout in the last fight. But
that happens in this sport from time to time.
Of course, but not everybody just has a fight where they're going to get knocked out by Donald Cerrone. But I mean, he's a good guy. I don't know. I would like to see a return to form for him, just based on that.
Yeah, I like his nickname, the Young Assassin.
Yeah,
it's long, but it's good. It's worth it. Kicks you at the end. Next fight. Dustin the Diamond Poirier. I like the Diamond.
Yeah.
That's a great. Versus Jonathan Brooks. That'll be a good fight, too. So just keep an eye out. Some okay fights. We have the chance to see some good ones, and they're all free, so why not,
Yeah, I will say this. Does anybody have Fuel TV?
What is Fuel TV?
Fuel TV is where the preliminary card goes.
Maybe they just made that up. Maybe they're just going to play it on a giant jug of fuel.
I think the funniest part about Fuel TV is I don't personally have it, and Dana always tweets out, it's like, contact your local provider and tell them. I'm not going to do that. You know what I do though? I go to Fox Deportes, and I'll watch it in Spanish. And
why?
I will tell you, there is no better experience than watching fights on Fox Deportes.
I'm going to have to take your word for it.
Especially when you're a little rusty at Spanish.
Yeah.
And you pick up every fifth word. And if you're watching with people who don't know what Spanish is, you can tell them any story you want.
And they'll just believe you.
They will.
That's good. I took a lot of Spanish in college.
Yeah.
Which is to say I can't speak it, but people might believe I did because I've how many years I had to force it down.
What is the
college.
best sentence you can string together in Spanish right now?
Me llamo Kevin.
This is so embarrassing. How many years did you take? Shut up.
Four. So many. Donde está el baño was an important one in Cancun.
You are embarrassing the caliber of our listener right now.
I'm embarrassing everyone. So let's move past the Smash's Ultimate Fighter card. Let's get around to some news. There's some good stuff going on. Hey, Raf, are you doing this podcast tonight with a toothpick in your mouth?
No, I'm not. Why do you ask?
Why not? Oh, just because I've heard people are doing everything with a toothpick in their mouth, including defending the lightweight title. Benson Henderson had a toothpick in his mouth. Can you elaborate? You said he and Dana, Dana got a little piffy. I don't know that part of it. I just know, I thought Rogan was joking. It wasn't until you followed up with me a few days later that I was like, oh, wait, that was real? That was happening?
I knew the moment when he ducked Joe Rogan's question, there was something more to the story. And I think that's where the this is where the MMA journalist really, really shines. Not on news, but on did he fight with a toothpick in his mouth? And now there's it's like toothpick gate. There's conspiracy theories. The best form of evidence is after one round, you could see him with a toothpick in his mouth walking out. And I think what he was alluding to later in the night was he was saying that he does fight with it. And I think we discerned it might be in his mouth guard.
How the F is that possible? Is
Dude,
there like a compartment for it?
First of all, I'm not crazy. So I don't get that.
Yeah, he also had a weird smile on his face when he was asked. He's like, no, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, first of all, if that's the edgiest thing about you, you need to go get laid. You need to go get drunk in Vegas immediately and do something you will regret for the rest of your life. Because if having a toothpick in your mouth guard is something you consider crazy, I just think it's stupid. I don't know if there's even a crazy element to it. Why? What's the upside? He just really loves having a toothpick.
You're getting right to the point. What I'm wondering is, what's the point of it? Like, what's the joke? I'm a funny guy. I enjoy a good joke. What's the punchline there?
I'm with you. If it was confusing, maybe he's trying to have his edge, but I think he's just going to get made fun of a lot.
Do you mind if I take a moment just to address this?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Benson, let me just give you...
Yeah, talk to him directly. And he's listening. Come on.
Of course he is. Benson, look. Great fighter. I regained so much respect for you after this weekend. But I have one major problem. There is only one person in sports entertainment that is allowed to have a toothpick in their mouth. And his name was Razor Ramon. You may not remember Razor Ramon. He was a mediocre character in the WWF, formerly WWE, but he walked around because he oozed machismo, and that's why he needed that toothpick. That was his Achilles heel, if you would. When he lost it, he had no power. You are not a fake wrestler. You are a human being in a legitimate fighting sport where you could possibly choke on that. And I get it. It's hysterical. Oh, man, you could choke, and that would show everybody, right? Oh, that'd be hysterical. Oh, yeah, because all these lames fighting without toothpicks in their mouths. No, the commission is going to get all up in this because it's unsafe. There's no point to it. I don't understand it. And you know what? I will say this right now. I demand an answer. I want to know why he does it. I want to hear the logical explanation as to why he needs to grab a toothpick that he got from going to Tony Roma's one night and said, I'm going to keep this in my mouth for the whole day.
Maybe someone gave him a large sum of money to do it. No, I'm with you, and we might have to make that a regular segment where you just belittle someone's choices from the fight card. I like that idea.
I'm very good at it. I don't mind putting it out there. And I think, now it's crossed over to being an issue, and it upsets me.
You're officially... Wow, I wasn't sure how worked up you'd get, but it's nice to see you this on fire about it. Turns out toothpicks is the thing that really gets Raf fired up.
Sometimes it will take me to the other side, and if you're really looking for something sad, and why not, you should actually watch Razor Ramon, a.k.a. Scott Hall. He had a 30 for 30 on ESPN. It's really sad.
Oh,
yeah.
I'll have to get to it. I'm on the Netflix. I'll start rolling through the 30 for 30 series.
They're quite good.
Tuesdays, we already mentioned this, but Boone or Bane moving The Ultimate Fighter from Fridays to Tuesdays with John Jones and Chael Sonnen as the coaches. I'm going Major Boone.
Okay, good. And can you also explain, where did you get Boone or Bane from?
Craig Brown, my speech coach.
Of course.
It's an old term for economics, meaning, hey, is this good or bad? Boone is great, Bane is bad. I think if you're Dark Knight Rising it, you can just use obviously Bane is not a good thing.
No. It sounds like something, like a leftover part of a script from the Dukes of Hazzard.
Hey there, Raf, Boone or Bane to this whole UFC moving to Tuesday thing.
Please stop doing an accent immediately.
No problem. GSP Diaz, it's on the books now. They're going to fight. Diaz's suspension's lifted in February, so I'm assuming it's going to happen after that.
I thought I'm going to stop you. No, we're going to address your question because it was a legitimate question before you added Boone or Bane. We're very happy The Ultimate Fighter's going to be on Tuesdays. The reason being, it's good for the sport. I think it puts it on at a notable time. They were actually proving that Sons of Anarchy was beating network television at that point.
Oh, wow.
So that's on the same network that The Ultimate Fighter is on. So I think it's in a very visible spot. Hopefully, and it won't have the same appeal as something as scripted as that, but I think it's a great thing to put it on a visible night where people aren't just leaving and then maybe watching on their DVR. All I'm saying. Go on.
I agree. GSP Diaz, is that going to be an embarrassing fight? Is GSP going to manhandle him? Feels like he is.
I don't know.
When was the last time you saw Nick Diaz fight and you thought, yeah, that guy's going places?
It's a good question. I think that with GSP, it's another kind of filler match that I'm not ecstatic about it, but I guess I want to see it, is my response. Why not?
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I just like watching. I just want to see Nick Diaz get beaten up a lot. Same weight class, different fight. McDonald gets his after-fight wish. Condit says he's in. Who's going to win that fight?
I hope Condit wins.
You're on board with my boy Condit?
Yeah, of course.
Just because of Rory's outburst, mostly?
Well, it's not even an outburst. It was just Rory's attempt to be intimidating and strike fear into the heart of Carlos Condit by staring directly into the camera.
So much so it prompted, if you didn't listen to the last one, Raf's girlfriend, who's wonderfully smart, mostly into fighting, to lean over and say, does he know this isn't pro wrestling? Which I think is still a great comment. It's like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure anyone has officially told him you're not supposed to do this.
It's the neck turn that's the most amazing. It's just, I'm not going to move my body to address the camera. I'm just going to move my neck to address the camera in front of me and talk shit about this guy who I want to beat up
into a pole. Okay,
and let him know I'm back. I'm better than ever.
He's back. He took 3 rounds of a retiree all the way. He is ready to fight for an ex-interim title.
Could you imagine?
That's how McDonald gets crazy. I'm with Carlos. If you need anything, you know the number. You call me. Raf and I will drop anything to come help you train for that fight. So just let us know.
We will offer.
We don't advise it.
No,
because,
not at all.
No.
We will offer our combined knowledge of absolute nothing.
Especially with the getting punched.
But I would be more than happy to allow Kevin to be your test dummy for anything you want to try. And I will yell motivational slogans at you the entire time.
At me or at him?
Mostly him,
Just
but to
both?
make you feel
Okay.
better about how he's breaking your arm and beating the will to live out of you, I would throw a few your way.
Cool. Here's what I'll say, Carlos. I don't think there are two better guys. At the end of the day, when you're trying to unwind and kind of move past and just have some dinner, we're going to be high-level entertainment in those moments. Probably way better than your average training partner. So, sit down and watch some ESPN with us. I'm just saying it's not all about what happens in the cage. Sometimes you got to bring in morale guys. You got to bring in glue guys. And that's what we bring to the table, Raf. Verbal tap
So
from
true.
Carlos Condit's living room.
Hey,
His
Carlos,
wife will be very pleased.
sometimes, don't you just want someone to ask you about your day? That could be
Beautifully
us.
put. And that moves us on to our final topic of the evening. Raf, MMA is breaking through ESPN, and they've got a pound-for-pound power rankings. No surprise, Anderson Silva's number 1, John Jones is 2, GSP is 3. Here's my question. They have Jose Aldo. They have Dominic Cruz. They have Frankie Edgar, Demetrius Johnson. Do any of those guys belong on a top 10 pound-for-pound fighter list?
Some, but it's a little questionable how they made the second half of that list.
Yeah, Jose Aldo coming in at 4. You are not going to take Benson Henderson over Jose Aldo? Because I am. I definitely want Henderson, who's number 6. And I think I'd rather have Junior Dos Santos, who's number 8, than... I even think Junior Dos Santos, when you're talking pound for pound... He's going to be tough because this is almost like absolute division, right? We're saying who are the best 10 fighters out there, who would win the fights.
Yeah.
I think Silva's 1, Jones is 2, but if Georges St. Pierre was fighting Junior Dos Santos, who are you going to take?
I'm a JDS fan, man.
Yeah?
I am, and I'm excited to see him and Kane fight again.
Me too. I'm really looking forward to that.
I think that was the
Junior
best.
Dos Santos is a dangerous man.
Definitely. No, more than definitely. I think the hardest part about this is, I always think in terms of the fighters, like, do they get, like, an Academy Awards call that says, hey, it's 5 a.m. in the morning. Congratulations, you're number 7. Or if you're JDS, do you get a call and it's just like, hey, man, bad news.
Good news, bad news.
You're on the list.
Definitely on the list.
Definitely on the list.
But... because he's going to be like, where am I?
That's the first thing. He always wakes up every morning. He is like, where am I? How did I end up here? And they're like, you're in a bed.
What's ESPN doing?
But then
Everything's okay.
break it to him so gently that he is getting beat and destroyed by other fighters who don't deserve it.
Including Dominic Cruz and Jose Aldo.
I thought it was great to see Dominic Cruz, though, make it on the list. Especially, maybe that's great motivation for him as he's getting rehabbed.
Yeah, that's another question I have. Is he the 5th best pound-for-pound fighter if he's not fighting right now because he's injured? Probably not.
That's a great place to be
okay
because how does someone argue that you've lost it?
Yeah,
if somebody's already put you at 5, it's not like you're going to be fighting, and it's not like you're going to go up and down. It's going to mean that somebody else does a great fight that then puts them ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see how these rankings develop, though, because they have them by weight class. And once you go into the weight classes, they're pretty spot on, which I appreciate. Thank you, ESPN, for already getting us a more organized ranking list so we can kind of see where these guys fall. Spoiler alert, Chael Sonnen's nowhere on the light heavyweight rankings, and he's certainly not number 2. So I think these types of lists are going to help yield better fight results in the future.
What we should do? What we should do is we should totally create a ranking of who are the best trash talkers. Pound for pound, best trash talkers.
Silva's up there, isn't he?
Depends on... I would put Silva's... Anderson Silva's... do they get translators in this list?
Probably, but as you've pointed out on previous shows, translators get the benefit of the doubt on not necessarily translating what it sounds like the fighter's saying.
Most definitely.
So there's some margin of error. I like that. We'll start working on that. Top 5 lists, not just pound for pound, maybe pound for pound trash talker, pound for pound scariest tattoos.
Yep.
top 5 nicknames. I like where this is headed. Raf, thank you for your time. Thank you for the unbelievable research you did. You put almost 25 minutes of strong article research in this week, which I think is a personal best for our preparation in the show.
And I can guarantee you will never happen again.
Absolutely. That's what makes you great. Verbal Tapcast on Twitter. Verbal Tapcast. Please go out there on iTunes, and download and give us some stars. We like the feedback we've been getting.
Yeah.
We like the Twitter friends. We enjoy the company.
Yep, Twitter
Thank
friends.
you.
We also will probably be dropping in a little bit in and out on Twitter to say some comments maybe on the fights this weekend. So catch us on there as well.
Hells yeah.
Tell us how bad
I'll
we
just
are at
give
picking fights. All that good stuff.
I'll give a big Twitter preview. I'm definitely going to be talking about some of the Roy Nelsonisms as I watch the fights, just because he's my favorite when it comes to just people I like watching, mostly. Yeah. Just like, what's going to happen next? I don't know. So I'm there. BJJ and MMA Academy out in Chantilly, where I train. Thank you guys for downloading and listening. Raf, you want to thank some Swedish listeners?
Yeah, Studio MMA. These guys, God, could not be better. Giving us great feedback, including the wonderful Marcus Kowal, who told us that we need to have more action in our podcast. So we are now looking into ways where I can potentially fight Kevin via the internet.
Yeah, we also might do realistic pranks, like light chairs on fire, whatever we need to do to get the blood pumping, spontaneous actions. No, we completely agree. We're trying to speed things up, get them done faster, get them out there. I really like Studio MMA also, by the way. I enjoy the website. I enjoy the different stuff you guys are putting out. Even occasionally the work you do, but just
Thank
occasionally.
You. Hey, I only work occasionally, so boom, joke's on you.
With Raf and Kevin. Thanks for listening, guys.
Good night. Good fight. I like it's almost funnier. Yeah. Well, I say it, so I'm a fan.